Appreciate you stopping by. There's one Lone Star
Howdy.
Keto girl. How you doing, dear?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. What about you?
I'm excellent, all things considered. It's been a pretty decent day. Could have been a whole lot worse, but it turned out rather well.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. I started out, it was pretty rough, from spilling my bird seed all over my floor to where it got all on the ground and I had to pick it up like piece by piece. And then my grandbaby, she just was not cooperating. She didn't want to take a nap and I couldn't do anything. And my mom had her second round of chemo and it was, just that. But no, I'm good. It's all good now.
Okay.
So, yay.
That's good to see you. I appreciate it. I hope your mom does okay. I'm assuming you didn't get a chance to listen to that podcast yet.
No.
Because if you
let
had,
me just tell you something. When she had her blood test done before she got the chemo or whatever, they said that she was doing amazingly well, that her platelets were really great and white blood cell count and all that kind of stuff is all good. And she said, well, that's probably because I'm on the ketogenic diet. And I was like, you go. They were pretty impressed because she said everybody else looks really bad and they're having to be supplemented with iron and all this other kind of stuff. And she was like, why do they have all these bags? And they're like, oh, because they're low on iron and everything. And apparently so far my mom is doing, pretty good considering. So yay for the diet.
That part, yeah, that's something I've read before in other people's testimonials. There's some at meatheals.com. And people have gone through chemo while carnivore. People have gone through surgeries while carnivore. And they don't get inflamed. They still suffer some uncomfortable moments. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't make you bulletproof.
Right. Absolutely.
But they show more promising health than they would have without the diet, obviously. Prayers for your mom that things keep going in a positive direction.
What about your dad?
He's not doing so good.
Yeah.
He woke my mom up at 1:00 in the morning in great pain a couple nights ago. He's got gout in his arm. They wouldn't even let him take his dialysis that day that he had scheduled until he went to the emergency room and got the gout addressed.
Oh, wow.
Good evening, Mr. Wentworth. Sir, congratulations on helping bring home an elk. It looks like it's yummy. I hope we get to hear about that elk later.
Yes.
Anyway, his quality of life is only going to get worse, unfortunately, over time.
Sorry to hear that.
The dementia is ramping up again. It's not a good situation, but it's a classic case of what happens when you make your brain so insulin resistant that it starts to starve.
Yeah.
That's what dementia, Alzheimer's, type 3 diabetes is rightfully called by many. Yeah. And it's all completely unnecessary. There's just no reason for any human being to keep and maintain type 2 diabetes.
I agree.
Food for thought. Listen, we appreciate you folks coming by tonight. This is episode 17 of the KetovoreKast. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We'll do our best. We'll interrupt each other to answer your questions. We're that way.
Yeah, we kind of are.
But we'll start off tonight by, when TV people start saying things that they got no business saying.
Yeah.
It's really something. So you've got this entertainer. She's not qualified for anything else other than reading off a cue card or from a script. I know it's not a put down. She's very good at it. She's made a fortune at it. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But when they start talking outside their lane, it really cracks me up. Oh, Ellen DeGeneres said the other day something along the lines, we should stop eating meat for the good of the planet.
Right.
Well, I don't think, number one, Ellen, you're qualified to make such a statement. Number two, because you have no knowledge of my health situation, what you would be doing is condemning me to psychotic behavior for the rest of my life. Probably getting me institutionalized, and it's being the burden on the state on top of it, in addition to being cuckoo. So I don't think I want to follow your ridiculous suggestion, because for me, meat is medicine, meat is my food, and meat is why I smile happily every day.
And we'll just think of all the people that's going to harm, with like issues with you. But I mean, we're talking diabetes, we're talking, so many issues, and, wanting people to get on the plant-based crap, artificial food is horrible. I mean, yeah, it really, quite frankly, angers me.
Well, especially since it really wouldn't make any difference. This ridiculous push, and I'm very happy to say that I've heard from a number of people who live outside the sphere of the Western media. Let's say folks from Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, Southeast Asia. They think all of this stuff is nonsense. They're not eating vegetables with every meal. KetovoreKast, I hope you get your Wi-Fi squared away, and we'll be here, dear. It's good seeing you. But these folks that live outside of the Western media, the propaganda sphere, let's call it. They're like, whoever's saying that's nuts. That's not how we're living. It's just not true. Yeah. So, which kind of dovetails into it was kind of, and then the following week we had this 16-year-old midget from Switzerland who was all angered. Actually,
angered.
Actually, she's a very well-trained young actress who reads her script very well, but I didn't believe a word of it. And I remain unconvinced. I just don't, this whole nonsense about the climate and the planet, I believe is just a lie. I think it's about control.
Yeah, propaganda for sure.
Communism failed, but those who wish to dominate and eliminate individual freedom have not given up. In my opinion, this is just another tool that they're trying to use against freedom-loving humans. Nobody should ever be told what they can and cannot eat by a government agency.
But if you control the food, you control the population.
Pretty much.
So there you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't appreciate somebody telling me how I need to eat either. And I don't care if it's for the good or for the bad or what, it should be my choice. And, I feel that way about anybody. I don't force anybody to have to eat keto. Okay, maybe my mom, but she agreed, so it's all good. But, people need to have their own choice and make up their own minds what's right for their body. Maybe what's right for me, maybe not necessarily be right for somebody else, and that's all good. You should have that freedom. But, when somebody tries to take that freedom from you and force you to eat a certain way, that's like somebody trying to tell you, okay, you have to have your hair a certain way, you have to do this a certain way. Where's it going to stop? But food is life. I mean, you can't not eat, or at least at some point. I mean, you can fast for a while, but eventually you're going to run out of body fat. So, what are you going to do then?
It's
crap food.
It's really sad too. They try to scare everybody. They don't approach it with facts and logic. This is the real data. No, because there is no real data to justify what they're saying. They have to create this air of tragic urgency. Yeah. Imminent disaster is right around the corner. And see, 20 years ago, we had Al Gore telling us, you have 10 years to make a change, or Florida will be underwater. Well, I'm living in Jacksonville, Florida, and hurricanes have blown by us and been flooded out. We don't even have water in the street. It's ridiculous. It's just nonsense, and it's designed to scare people and generate revenue for the food companies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you can mark us down as against that.
Yeah, not going there. I'm going to eat my meat.
Going to eat my meat and I'm going to drink
Mm-hmm.
my water, and there's nothing any of you naysayers can throw at me that's going to convince me that I need to change my
No,
mind. Because
no.
437 days of eating meat and drinking water tells me it's A-okay.
Yeah. And the other thing too is if you look at all the stories out there now that are coming out about ex-vegans and how much that, they were damaged. And, I'm not saying that there isn't a good way to do it, but a lot of people rely on that processed vegan food because there's a lot of things that are considered vegan that are absolutely horrible for you. So I'm not trying to put down people who want to, do a plant-based diet, but when you do that whole junk food stuff, I mean, a lot of that's vegan, but it ain't good to eat. So.
Well, I agree with Dr. Paul Saladino. I don't think it's possible to be healthy for very long, if at all, on a vegan diet.
Yeah.
You're missing too many nutrients. The supplementation for have a chance to work at all, your body, all the nutrients and stuff you're trying to supplement have to be in a bioavailable form, and most of it
Right.
is not.
And that's exactly
So
right.
people are spending all this money on, I got my supplements, man. I don't have to worry about my vitamin D. I got that. Everything's covered, man. I'm cool. My macronutrients, and none of it's bioavailable. They just eat
Yeah.
pills that just run through, and none of it hits the bloodstream.
What you see on the paper isn't what your body's absorbing. So, yeah.
That's why animal source foods are absorbed almost entirely in the small intestine. They never make it to the colon.
That's right. Yep.
So the next time but if you just eat meat, that meat's rotting in your colon. You're going to get colon cancer. You could point out to them that that's biologically impossible because meat doesn't make it to the colon except on its final departure. Good evening, Mr. Anderson, sir. What are the cons or pros of including dairy on a carnivore diet? Okay, my recommendation for everybody when they start the carnivore diet is for the first 30 days not to eat dairy. It's a tendency for people, especially if they like cheese, oh my gosh, to go crazy on cheese, not eat enough meat. They don't feel satiated. They don't get hormonally balanced that way, and they have a hard time. Their sugar cravings end up kicking their rear end, and they end up eating crap again. So first 30 days, I recommend no dairy of any kind, no eggs. Focus on meat. Drink your water. Cook with, if you want to cook with butter, it's, different spices, that's fine. That's not a problem. But you really want the focus to be on meat. What do you think, Amber?
Well, for me, the way I did it is I was doing dairy when I originally started carnivore, and that worked for me just fine. I phased it out, and that was better for me. Some people, it probably is good to, like you said, drop it. I didn't, and I was able to wean off it just fine. I do not eat cheese. I do not have sour cream. I don't have, a lot of stuff like that, all that dairy. I've just now recently kind of added back in eggs here and there. I think I've had like 2 eggs so far, but dairy I don't do anymore, and it's really not that big of a deal, honestly. It was easy enough. I got over the cravings, but I was a cheese lover. I'm not even gonna kid you. Cheese and chocolate, it was right there. So, but yeah, dairy is an issue for a lot of people, and they don't even know it. And also, dairy can, if you're having some constipation issues on carnivore, that might be your issue right there because, like we were just talking about with the meat, I mean, it doesn't make it to that far down to be, expelled from your body. So it's, anyway,
The point,
consider that.
Yeah, it's meat doesn't cause constipation. Fiber causes constipation.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Dairy can.
Dairy can cause it as well. There's certain proteins that people aren't, people with histamine issues Intolerance is people that can't tolerate certain animal proteins, cow proteins specifically found in milk. And it's a problem. I know my wife had issues with weight loss until she quit drinking milk.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
And I think it's better if I haven't missed it. Milk, I just wasn't interested. It just really wasn't for me anymore. And eggs were delicious. Eggs were delicious, but they stopped being filling and satisfying.
Yeah, I kind of lost my taste for it, so it was kind of like easy for me to give up the eggs. But for some reason, every so often I want an egg, so I've kind of added that back in. But I haven't really eaten it in enough quantity yet to really know.
And it sounds to me like you're listening to your body. There's something in eggs that your body wants periodically.
Yeah.
It's like with my wife, she does not eat yogurt, but maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. She'll get her body, there's something in yogurt she needs, and she'll eat one, and then she won't eat it again.
My mom's been craving yogurt and milk products, or dairy products in particular, like yogurt, cottage cheese, and that kind of thing, which is kind of odd. But since chemo, she's been craving that. I don't know why.
I would recommend she try drinking bone broth instead. See how she does.
She does.
In place of those things.
Yeah.
So if she feels the craving, drink some bone broth. I'm serious. Drink some bone broth.
And she also craved like sweet stuff, but I'm like, no, just no. It's like, where's that coming from? I don't know. But no, that's not good.
It's so important that people understand. It's not that we're just against sugar. There's a reason we're against sugar. It's because it damages the humans at the cellular level. Every grain of sugar slightly damages all the mitochondria in our body. Think about that. Now, it's just a tiny little bit, but how many pounds of sugar does the average human eat? Hello, James.
Very
50
scary.
pounds a year, 100 pounds a year. I've lost track. I don't eat it, so I don't keep up with that anymore. But it's ridiculous.
Bad. Yeah. And then it's addicting too. So it's just nothing good about it, okay, so it tasted good for a while, but, it's not
I spoke with a lady today that called me. She's from the area I grew up in, back in West Virginia, a few years younger than me. And she had been in a car accident several years ago, had bad back surgery, injuries, whatnot, got hooked on pain meds, got off the pain meds, has been clean and sober for 5 years, but she had the gastric bypass surgery, and there was a problem with it in that her stomach would never expand past the small 6-ounce size that it was after the surgery. So she eats very little, and she drinks gallons of Mountain Dew. Oh. She's like 5'3" and weighs 250, 260, fibromyalgia, arthritis, a whole bunch of neurological issues. So she called me asking for help today. Of course, you know what I said, 30 days low carb, and then let's go meat and water if you want to do it, if you really want to get well. And this is somebody who's been clean and sober for 5 years. But the issue of sugar addiction was something that got talked about a lot, because I had to explain to her, you're going to need to apply the same kind of thinking to sugar that you've applied to your other former favorite poisons. Because otherwise it's going to kick your butt. Sugar's evil.
Addiction is addiction. It is.
Isn't it sad also that we've had people get indignant, somebody dies using a product, they had the vaping thing recently. Of course, then there's, anytime there's a death by a firearm, people lose their mind. But they're always silent about the millions of people who suffer needlessly and die year after year from metabolic illnesses because they were sugar addicts.
Yes. Yeah. It's it's almost accepted. It's normal. It's what you're supposed to, it's just a normal thing now to be diabetic and, insulin resistant and all that other stuff that goes on, high blood pressure. It's just kind of normal. It's just going to happen as you age kind of thing. And so it's just like it's kind of become almost accepted. It's really kind of sad when it's so, preventable.
It's completely unnecessary. We are living proof. We were not broken. We did not get a bad genetic roll of the dice. We
Well,
just were
I don't know
putting
about that
crap into our mouth.
for sure.
That's what it was. We were eating crap. We were eating what we were told was good for us, and we now know that we were misinformed. In many cases, we've been out and out lied to.
Yeah. And then foods being specifically designed to get you addicted.
Oh, yeah.
That to me is so wrong.
It should be criminal.
Exactly.
What's the difference?
How many deaths are caused because of that addiction?
What's the difference between the chemists in China who make the fentanyl as pure and as powerful as they can before they send it over here to kill our people with, who are addicted and die from it, thousands every year? What's the difference between them and somebody at Nestle's figuring out the formula that maxes out the pleasure centers in every human's brain when they eat their lab congealed garbage? What's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, what's the difference? One's legal, the other's not. They both kill. They both destroy. I think the thinking has been so turned around. You know that meme that says, unlearn, rethink?
Yes.
It needs to be in big red letters. It's being too subtly done. We're not, we need to grab people by the eyeballs and get their attention and say, listen, we've been thinking about this all wrong.
Yeah.
Because we have. We got some people in chat agreeing. Nobody's disagreeing. We love our chat people. Now, seriously, it is criminal. I agree completely. It's just, and yet the media is silent.
Yeah.
Doctors, for the most part, go along to get along.
Yeah, well, they kind of have to. There are even, and I hear this time and time again from people that I chat with that say that their doctor actually does, like, say, keto, carnivore, or low carb, but they can't recommend it to their patients because they'll get in trouble for it. So they're doing something that they believe in, but they can't, like, allow their patients to I guess, know about it without getting in trouble. That's sick. That is absolutely sick.
Well, we know we've got examples of the Dr. Fettke out of Australia, Professor Dokes out of South Africa.
Yeah.
There was a doctor, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I listened to her podcast with Dr. Tro and Dr. Brian, the low carb. I can't remember. I'm terrible with other people's podcast names. Isn't that awful? Anyway.
You're terrible with your own. What are you talking about?
Yeah, seriously. I'm not very good with it. But she had to go through a similar thing where she was, she had to prove her innocence before she even knew what the charges were against her. I mean, think about that. How messed up a system is that?
Yeah. Read Tim Noakes' book on it. I read that a long time ago, and I was flabbergasted. I could not believe that happened.
Oh, it did.
That's absolutely sick. I mean,
thank you, Weight Watcher Gone Keto. You're right. Low Carb MD. That's the right name of the podcast. Thank you so much. But yeah, it cost them millions of dollars. It cost the Fettke's a fortune.
Yeah.
It cost
the
this other lady.
reputation.
And all they did was recommend plans of action that preventative plans of action that kept their patients, Dr. Fettke says, people that were going to have joints replaced didn't need to have them replaced anymore. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Like what happened with Dr. Baker?
Yeah.
Same kind of scenario, only it was a different sort of power play that they played on it.
Yeah.
These are not people that are on our side. And these are the same folks who are funding all those advertisements on TV. Oh, this is really good for you. This juice. This juice. It's not really juice.
Fortified cereal, yeah. Special K.
Heart healthy grains.
Yeah, heart healthy, yeah. Oatmeal, yeah.
Every bit of it. Garbage. Not real human food. And then we have stories like this. I want to share this one. Now, a lot of people know about Dr. Michaela Peterson. She's like considered by many people the queen, or now the lioness of carnivore, since she on her own decided to call the meat, salt, and water diet is now the lion diet, which I can live with that. I got no problem with that, although she should call herself a lioness then, in my opinion. But, you know, Michaela figured a lot of this out on her own and then helped her dad, and her dad basically told the world. And that's how I learned about the carnivorous way of eating. Well, it just so happens that Dr. Peterson, his wife got sick, very rare form of cancer, almost died due to some very rare, unusual surgical complications. Well, thank you, Weight Watcher Gone Keto.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. Stuff like that's why we keep doing these, is because the message is just like that. Thank you very much. But anyway, you know, and Mr. Peterson's wife, and she almost died like 3 times. He's under all the, you know, it's his wife. They've been together forever. So he's anxious to the point to where he needed some meds. And the medicine that they put him on, he only took it for 6 weeks, and he only took it as prescribed. But when he tried to stop taking it after his wife's health stabilized, and she's going to be fine, thankfully, he was addicted. He started suffering withdrawal, and he had to check himself into a facility so that he could get detox from this medicine. Now, I took meds as prescribed. He took his meds as prescribed. It took me 8 months to titrate off of Ativan after 8.5 years. All that damage, all those meds that people take on a regular basis so that their illnesses are managed.
Right.
Think about it. How many of us took meds for years and years and years? You took meds too for different ailments.
Yeah, blood pressure and Nexium for after.
And they never addressed the root problem of what was wrong, did they?
No, nope. And did a lot of damage.
That we're still healing from.
Yeah, no doubt. To think 8 years I was on Nexium, and you see all these news things coming out now about how bad that is and how much, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I took it every day for 8 years. I
was on Prozac for a better part of 20 years.
Oh, God.
I was on Ativan for 8.5 years. I was on Trazodone for 8.5 years.
Yikes. Mm-mm.
That doesn't count all the other meds and combinations of meds that they tried with those. I mean, there's a picture deep on my Facebook. There's like 8 pill bottles lined up across the back of my little shelf there. And I had to take those this was like 2011. And I had to take them every one of them during the day.
Oh, good grief. Thanks.
And, you know, I'm not unique in that. You weren't unique in that. Somebody else is saying 14 prescriptions for lupus and autoimmune disease. It took over 15 years. This is so common.
Wow.
They want to feed us pills. They charge a fortune for. They don't want
And then you have to take pills to take care of the side effects of the pills you're taking. And then take more to take care of the side effects of the pills you were taking to take care of the side effects for the pills you were originally taking.
That's exactly right. I believe it's all by design.
I have to agree.
Because healthy patients make lousy customers, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have not seen a physician since 2017 because I haven't needed to. And now? The only reason I would go see my former doctor now is to rub it in his nose, because he told me that 90% of the people who had the lab values I had in 2017 couldn't turn it around with diet and exercise. And part of me wants to drop that $120 to just go in there and say, what do you think about me now, Doc? It's just a dream.
Mine said I would be on Nexium pretty much the rest of my life.
And how long have you been off of it?
For 2 years. 0 acid reflux. 0.
Missing a lot, don't you?
Oh yeah, I loved having that acid come back in my mouth when I lay down. Yeah, it was awesome. Love it.
Mm. It
Miss that.
reminds me of the lady back again. It's somebody from where I grew up who had the multiple sclerosis, and she's a few years older than me. And her doctor diagnosed her and said, "You're going to spend most of the rest of your life in a wheelchair." And the symptoms she had were horrible: falling all the time, horrible tinnitus, the inability to use her hands periodically. Her hands would just stop working altogether. Just crazy, awful stuff. She started eating meat and drinking water. Inside of 2 months, all of her symptoms went away.
Wow.
Primary
Wow.
progressive multiple sclerosis, the kind that's never supposed to go into remission.
Wow.
She fired that neurologist, and I have applauded her every time I think about it. I'm like, yes. Don't be afraid to stand up to doctors who don't treat you right. If you've been a compliant patient and you've been taking your meds as prescribed and you've just gotten worse, that happened to all of us at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really afraid anymore. My file is like only like this thick, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that is non-compliant. Pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree completely. And see, I was a very compliant patient. I didn't want to be crazy. And I didn't want to forget my meds because I knew from my former work experience in the mental health field that one of the reasons for chronic rehospitalization was people not taking their meds. We got a question here. Do you two eat all types of meats or just beef? Go ahead, Amber. You go first.
I primarily eat beef, but occasionally I will have chicken. Sometimes I get a craving for that. It's kind of weird. I eat venison, elk, primarily red meat, I should say, not all beef. And occasionally I will have wild hog. My family are full of hunters, so we usually have wild game in our freezer. Right now we have elk, hog, and venison. So I do eat a lot of that, but I eat primarily beef. Yeah, there's a very large percentage of beef, but I've been really enjoying my elk lately. So
tell me real quick, what's elk taste like?
To me it is like it's kind of like venison, but personally for me, I find it a little milder. I think it's kind of in between venison and beef, if that makes any sense. It's very, very lean, like venison, maybe not quite as much, but pretty close to venison. But it has, for me, a milder taste than venison. Not that venison is strong by any means, but it's pretty close to if you were to mix venison and beef.
So those patties,
lean beef.
So those patties that I've seen pictures of, does those have ground beef mixed in with them, like you did the venison? That's just straight elk?
The first time, because I thought elk would be way too lean like venison, so I did add in some of my ground beef the first time, and it was really good. And my husband wanted to know what elk tastes like by itself, so I've been doing that lately, and it's fine. It's perfectly good. It is lean, so sometimes I will add like a little dab of butter on there, just to make sure I have a little bit of fat in there if I'm not eating like more bacon or something.
Heart-shaped butter, no less.
Yeah, of course, little flowers too. It's all about the presentation.
Weight Watcher God Keto says, I got fired by 2 doctors. I got fired by a doctor's assistant. I never got fired by a doctor, but I got fired by a doctor's assistant. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh yeah, you can get fired.
Oh wow.
They can refuse your
Surprised
service.
I haven't. Yikes.
Yeah, if the one who fired me prescribed a thyroid medication for me without giving me a thyroid test. And I took only 1 dose of that medication, and I thought my head was legitimately going to explode. I was literally sitting there I thought I was holding my head together. It was horrible.
Wow.
So I sent her an email asking her what was up with that. And she wrote me back, and I know she CYA because she knew she screwed up. But see, you wore the white coat, you had a stethoscope around your neck. I was gullible. Even with my education.
I get it, yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And that's another problem we have to fight. on top of
Yes.
everything else with Ellen and whatnot. It's all this
Right.
horrible miscommunication, deliberate stuff. I'm looking here at the list of things that we had to talk about, and tweaking the diet. Now, this is not something we recommend for new people, except when you're trying to dial things in so that, you figure out the meats you like. Oh, and to finish the answer, I want to go back to that question about did we eat other types of meats or just beef? Because it's a great question. I started out, when I first began carnivory in July of 2018, last year, I ate a variety of stuff. It was mostly red meat, but I would eat fish, and I would eat pork shoulder roast and pork chops and things like that. And, ground beef, and of course bacon was always there. But, it was a variety. But then I discovered 90-10 ground beef and how perfect it works with bacon. And I haven't eaten anything, but that's just since December of last year. And I haven't missed anything.
Yeah.
I really do just eat bacon and ground beef every day, and I don't feel deprived. It's delicious. If it wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever put in my mouth, I assure you, I would not be doing it like that.
I primarily eat that too, but occasionally I will do a little something. And I should add also, occasionally I will have shrimp and salmon, but it's not very often. And neither is chicken very often, but I will occasionally. But I really prefer red meat and wild game.
Yeah, I just, red meat for me is what works. And it's not that the other meats didn't taste good. They were delicious. But, just when you hit that, when you're satisfied,
That's
when you're not satisfied. And the pork would be like, man, that tastes really good. But there was something missing. There was no there, for lack of a better explanation.
That's what I felt about chicken for a while. And it's weird because that's primarily all I ate was chicken. For years and years, even on keto, that's primarily what I ate was chicken. And now it's just every now and then. I went through a little bit a couple of weeks ago where I really wanted chicken, but now I don't again. So go figure.
For me, chicken is famine food. I have zero interest in. I don't like the look of it. I don't even like the smell.
That's the way I was too.
My wife makes chicken wings for her and her son pretty regular that they eat. It's the only other thing that's ever made in our air fryers is chicken wings. And I can't stand the smell. I have to light incense between the pepper and the garlic. Oh gosh, it's horrible.
Really?
Make it stop. I just can't stand it. And it's interesting. There's the Peak Human podcast. There's an episode with Dr. Paul Saladino, who I've mentioned way too many times tonight already. Don't be getting the big head, Dr. Paul. You're a good dude, though. Where he talks about why black pepper could be a problem for people. And I want to encourage everybody to go listen to that episode. It's the Peak Human podcast with Dr. Paul Saladino. It's the 2-hour episode because he does the two back to back. There's like 3.5 hours of discussion that they have, and they chop it up, and it comes in the 2-hour segment. And I recommend everybody hear that because there's a lot of information about foods that I was even unaware of about why we shouldn't put them into our mouth. And a lot of it has to do with certain spices and peppered spices and whatnot. And I know a lot of people enjoy that. And I don't care if you can eat spices and tolerate it, have at it. But it seems for many that it's a problem that they're unaware of. Yeah, and I'm not going to try to recite it all because I'm at work while I'm listening to this. My mind's divided. I don't have all the details all memorized and committed, so I don't want to accidentally misrepresent that. You, young lady, I just went going almost 7 months now carnivore, and you've been just getting healthier looking and healthier looking.
Hair, nails, skin, yeah.
Oh, the rosacea has improved dramatically.
Yeah.
Someone says they've been mainly carnivore for about 80 days. What's the normal bowel movement schedule?
Individual.
When you need to go, you go. It's not something you should worry about. I'm going to assume if you're just eating meat, you've not been experiencing any constipation. If you have been experiencing constipation, I'm going to bet you've been eating something else besides meat, probably cheese.
Yeah, very possible. For me, I'll answer that on a personal level. For me, I go once or twice a week. I'm not constipated. Believe me, I know the difference because I spent most of my life constipated. So I'll just tell you, I know the difference. And yeah, so there's just not a whole lot to be passed through except for the bacteria and all that slough off. There's not any of that fiber to really bulk up and have a lot there to, feel like you have to constantly go all the time. But I mean, you still have bowel movements because most of your stool is made up of the bacteria anyway, unless you're just really supplementing with fiber and stuff. So yeah, everybody, it's very individual. I hear people say they have a bowel movement every single day. So
my wife is like that most of the time. She'll be happy I told the world that, I'm sure. But for me, it varies. It might be once or twice a week for a while, and then it might be 3 or 4 days in a row. It's very, but I never feel constipated. Right. It's never completely painless experience after years of oh my God, this is going to hurt so bad.
Years of supplementing fiber to help you go. And I couldn't imagine why I hurt so bad. Sometimes hurt so bad I couldn't even stand up straight.
Let's see if I can find it while I'm talking. Because there's somebody posted a link to me a few days ago on Twitter. It was from a talk given at the Low Carb Down Under, and that they had a few years ago. I think that's a yearly thing now, but this is like a couple of years ago. And okay, I'm making progress. Okay, let me find the doctor. Yeah, Dr. Paul Mason. Okay,
yeah.
Amazing 20-minute.
Yes.
This 20-minute talk on why fiber is just a non sequitur for human beings. I mean,
I'm about to do a video on that using his examples. It's gonna be kind of funny, but
because some of it is hilarious because he's like, the object shouldn't be to make what goes through that small exit area bigger than the exit area. And that's really what fiber does. It causes, it's 22 minutes and 41 seconds long, and it's called From Fiber to the Microbiome, Low Carb Gut Health. From July 11th, 2018. I highly recommend everybody go see that.
Yeah. He's great. I like him a lot, and his accent is super cute, too.
Oh, yeah. And he's he's hilarious, too, on top of it.
Yeah.
But
and he makes such sense. It's like,
Who knew? But see, we all believed what we were taught all those years. Got to be balanced.
Get your fiber.
Balance your diet with proper, healthy, essential. They always put that essential fiber. Yes. And we now know that it's not essential. No, somebody says they're still constipated after 7 months, no cheese. Okay, then my first question is, how much fat are you eating?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you're eating nearly enough fat to me. Because if you're eating too much fat, you'll have loose stool. If you're not eating enough fat, you'll not have the energy level you should have, and you can get you will get constipated.
Yep. It can also happen if you're dehydrated, but you probably would know that by now. But it is possible to be dehydrated too. That's one of the, issues you can have on carnivore. If you're not drinking enough, you're not getting enough fat, dairy.
Yeah. Jen says, I went from getting blockages with plants to easy going with carnivore. Ain't it great?
Yes.
That's why I like it. Every so often on Twitter and whatnot, everybody who follows me, every day I post how many days it's been since I either gave up carbs, sugar, and plants, or since no fiber. It's one of those two things. And I had a point to make with that, and it just went bye-bye. Just went right out. Here, Brett? No, it's gone forever. No, my point is I make those posts every day, and one of the things that I used to put on there a lot, I need to start adding on there again, is painless elimination.
Yes.
Because that's a big deal. It was a big
It
deal for
really
me.
is.
I
Oh,
was
for
a
me,
hemorrhoid
for sure.
sufferer. You had digestive problems out the wazoo that you never
Yeah.
get specific about because
For
I don't
very, very,
dare.
very, very many years. Since I was
Never
like, I don't
ask a
know, 10
woman
years
about
old.
her digestive problems. It's just not safe. It's not polite.
I used to be embarrassed about it, but now I'm just like all talking all about it on video and things. So, oh well.
But see, you had digestive problems that you thought were
Yeah,
normal.
I did. And they improved so much on keto, I thought that was normal. And within the first week on carnivore, I was like, what in the world? That was a very unexpected benefit. I did not know that it could be better. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing.
Now, you've got a lot of stress going on because you're helping take care of your mom as she's going through cancer. I got stress in my dealing with parents being deathly ill from 1,000 miles away, et cetera, et cetera. Stress, we know, can cause headaches. It can cause
Mhm.
heart issues, et cetera, et cetera. How have you been about headaches since you've been on carnivore?
Well, I was never one to really have headaches. The only headaches I get now is if I have a sinus issue because like some kind of yucky crap blows through in the air, and then I'll get, just like some sinus issues right here, but I don't get headaches. And I never really got headaches except for when I was pretty much younger, but I don't know why I got them then. Probably stress, I don't know. But I don't really get them, so I don't know.
I was just curious. I haven't had a headache since July of last year. Not
Yeah, I
one.
really don't get them. I
And
don't
I
know
used to
why, but
suffer from headaches, multiple headaches every day.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it doesn't have so much to do with me. It's just when we don't poison our bodies,
Mhm.
someone says their migraines are almost gone. Well, that's
That's
great. Please
awesome.
let us
Yay.
know when they are gone for
Yes.
good. Please. So
We'll
we can
celebrate.
celebrate with you.
Oop, oop.
Absolutely. Uh, Also, don't forget, we got 12 minutes left. Folks in the chat, we appreciate. We know people are coming and going all the time, but if you have any questions, don't
Yeah. If we
hesitate to
missed
ask.
anything,
Yes, please, don't hesitate to ask. Now, one thing I also want to let everybody know, this is going to be up here for 24 hours on the Instagram stories thing on my right here where you're watching it. But it'll also get uploaded to our YouTube page, our YouTube channel at the KetovoreKast.
you
So,
said it right.
yeah, I said it right both times tonight.
Ooh.
And I don't want a candy bar for it.
Bacon.
Somebody, okay, let's see. It's Weight Watchers Gone Keto now saying I had migraines all the time, needing intervention from ER doctors, none in over 12 months. That is so awesome.
Hey, that's great.
I used to suffer. I used to have really bad teeth, horrible sinus problems. This was
Mm,
in my early 30s. Going to the ER when you're in pain is never fun. It's just
yeah.
horrible. So I'm happy for you. That's really great. Uh, And let us know if you've had any other non-scale victories. Somebody says, how can I stop the cravings for carbs? Benny, you got to stop eating them to stop craving them. And when you eat, you got to follow. If you're eating meat, here's how I do it. Only eat when you're hungry. When you're hungry, eat until you're not another bite full. That is so important. And that'll help with your cravings about more than anything. Only eat the meat you crave and can afford. Don't put sweet taste in your mouth. That's the other huge thing. Mouthwashes, toothpaste, don't let it be sweet. I'm telling you, it extends sugar cravings, causes your insulin to spike, just like stevia would. Amber, what do you
And
think?
carbs and sugar are addicting. I mean, you're addicted to it. And it's like with anything else. I mean, like if you're an alcoholic, are you gonna just kind of eat a little bit of, drink a little bit of the alcohol? You can't really do that. So you've got to really pretty much eliminate that. And if you have to do it gradually, you know what? That's okay. That's what I did, and it worked for me. I cut out, your typical carbs, like your pastas, your bread, etc. And then I kept like dialing it in more and more and more and cutting out more. And the next thing you know, it's no big deal because you don't have those cravings and you've broken that addiction. Now, if it's something more psychological, you're going to have to deal with those kind of issues, the emotional, psychological part. But breaking the cravings, if you can do that, if you want to do, if you're better at cold turkey or gradual, either way, I mean, you've got to get rid of the carbs. It's, well,
I lost my cravings like 8-10 days. And they're
oh, I
just
did
gone.
too, within the
And
first week for me.
I haven't missed them. But see,
Yeah.
that's the important part of that is I followed the directions completely. I left my ego out of it because I wanted this to work. And I believe it's one of the reasons why I've had so few problems is I still follow the directions. I don't deviate from that. Jin says she has a serious disease, MCASS, anaphylaxis every other day, all gone with carnivore. That's wonderful.
Wow. That's pretty serious. Wow.
Yeah, and Hope Loving Keto makes a great point. Letting yourself go hungry for too long makes resisting carbs way more difficult.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, see, Benny, here's the thing. Here's how you have to look at cheat days. Yeah. Cheating implies gaining an advantage. What advantage are you gaining by putting non-food stuff into your mouth? What's the advantage?
Temporary pleasure, like a 1-minute pleasure.
You should replace the word cheat with sabotage because it's a more accurate description of what's taking place. That's just a cold, brutal facts. Someone says if they have bacon, they have pain in their left side. Well, you should maybe go see your doctor and get your blood levels checked, or you might want to check the bacon and see what the ingredients are. Is your bacon frying up does it turn black around the edges? If it does, give that to your dog because it's going to be cured with too much sugar. You don't want to eat that. That's how you know if it's been over-cured with sugar. It'll turn brown or black around the edges as your bacon cooks before the rest of the piece of bacon's done.
I'd be so sad if that happened to me. Bacon is like,
Our dog has eaten a few. Well, see, we just don't buy that brand anymore. Once we see that happen, then we don't buy it. But the dog eats bacon. It's the only time the dog eats bacon is when we try a different brand and it craps out on us like that. We just will not fool with it.
That's very interesting. I've never heard that happening. That's very interesting.
Oh yeah, we see it all the time.
I'll research that. The left side. Really? I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'm not talking about the left side. I was talking about the edges of baking. The pain, you have to see your doctor about that. That we're not physicians. That's something that needs to be diagnosed.
And I haven't really heard that before, so I don't know.
And other people there's sugar-free bacon all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Sugar in the cure is not a problem. If it's not, they don't overdo it. It's when they put too much sugar in that it becomes a problem for humans to consume.
Especially if you eat a lot of it.
Now, I'm not against sugar. If you like the non-sugar cured bacon, eat all of it. I don't have a problem with sugar cured bacon, and we've learned from experience how to discern whether it's had been over cured with it. Yeah. And we don't eat that. Don't put it in our mouths.
Yeah.
That comes with experience. And we kind of started with this about tweaks, and I never got to mention my tweak. Recently I increased the amount of ground beef I was eating and decreased the amount of bacon because my spare tire wasn't going away. And I applied some logic. Well, if I consume a little less fat, theoretically, I should burn more fat. And that's exactly what's happening. And matter of fact, probably by the end of the year, I'll be able to stand up wearing a cut-off T-shirt and show off some old man abs. Not some old man flab, but some old man abs. That's my goal. Thank you, Weight Watcher Keto, Glenn Keto. We're just trying to share our experience. That's why we do this. It's because we want people to learn what we've learned so that you can feel as good as we do. And so that
Exactly.
you won't make some of the mistakes we've seen people make along the way. It's not because we're geniuses or anything. We just have experience, and we want to share it.
For
We got
sure.
about 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left. I can't thank you all enough for coming by. I mean, we've had a
Yes,
really good,
thank
steady
y'all.
crowd. You all have had some great comments. This hour, as usual, when it's right, it just flies by. And this one's just,
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I don't think you got to your whole list, did you?
let's see. Well, the physical improvements that I'm having from the tweaking are manifold. The flab off my belly's going away. I've got some flab still on my inner thighs. It's going away too. So these little tweaks, again, been doing it a long time. I could
Yeah.
make a little tweak. But your first 30 days, don't just follow the directions.
Yeah, you got to let your body adjust. And when you're doing too many things, you don't know really what's working. So you got to kind of like, stabilize. And then, once you're used to everything, then you can start kind of tweaking. So you know what to compare it to. Because when you're first starting, you have no clue because you're still adjusting. Your body's still trying to get used to everything. So you don't want to
And
keep change.
and if you've not lived in ketosis before,
Yeah.
the adaptation phase takes anywhere between 3 to
Yes.
6 weeks. It could take up to 2 years for some people.
Yes.
So you have to be patient. But man, when you become fat adapted, you start burning ketones for energy. It is just a wonderful way to live. I can't
It is.
imagine being a sugar burner again, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difference is just remarkable because I work really hard at my job. It's physically demanding, but I don't get tired. I don't get tired at all. I don't ever I'm out of gas. What am I going to do? I got 4 more hours. It's never like that.
Yeah, I struggled for a little bit with a little bit lower energy than what I was used to on keto. But I was keto for, almost 2 years, and I was in ketosis, and I felt freaking amazing. And then when I went carnivore, my energy kind of dipped. I'm not horrible, but compared to keto, I was like, what is going on? But it was my body adapting. I'm gradually, kind of picking it up, but my body's still adapting. And I've been on carnivore for 6 months. So, and I was keto and strict keto. So,
Well, you're in a stressful situation with your mom too, and that hasn't done you any
that's
favors.
true. That's true.
I mean, that's just a brutal
Yep.
truth. But
And, and
it's
and reliving the whole baby thing with my grandbaby, keeping her every
oh
day.
gosh,
It's like I'm redoing it all over again, but I'm
yeah. I
glad I
get to
don't
hear
have
I
to.
get to hear that when the diaper failure reports. We'll be talking and
Yeah.
trying to plan for our next episode, and there's a baby emergency. The
Yeah.
diaper overfloweth. Listen, everybody, we want to
Fun
thank
times.
everybody for coming out tonight. We appreciate your questions and your amazing comments, Jen, Fit Mom, and other people. It's just been great. Weight Watcher Gone Keto had some great comments.
That's true. I have to put up with you.
I appreciate you all so very much. Amber, you got a closing thought?
Everybody, carnivore on or keto on, whatever you're doing. Either way, it's all good.
Yeah. YouTube channels at
Just
Keto.
have patience. Have patience if you're not getting the results that you're wanting or looking for. You
The,
know, you just got to kind of give it time.
the YouTube channel is the KetovoreKast with a K. KETO. KetovoreKast. Be thankful, my friends. Eat your meat, drink your water. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks, y'all.
Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Bye. Thanks for watching.